It's the 1st of February 2025. On the 30th of January, I had my first salad of the year, and my first proper non-grape meal. So I just wanted to kind of do a final video describing my thoughts on the month that was, and some things that I noticed within myself. Kind of just break down a little bit what it was I was trying to get out of the process and what resulted from it. So I've got a list this time. I told myself to write things down as I went, but that didn't happen. So again, I will for sure miss some things, but we'll just see how I go. Something might pop up, but I'm pretty sure I've covered it all. So I'm just going to go down the list and try not to get off track too much. So the first thing was energy levels and strength. As I've touched on already, energy levels were really good. You don't feel great all the time, but no one does. If they tell you they are, then they're probably lying. But I definitely feel more energy, and it definitely went up from previous to when you have the more grounding foods, more towards your vegetable spectrum. And then it goes like your grains and everything else. The more dense, the more heavy you're going to feel. And I've definitely experienced that since eating a salad and a couple since. So that's one thing to note. Strength actually continued to get better throughout the process. I don't think it's 100% true strength. What I mean by that is I have definitely been stronger, both in the past by eating other foods, but also eating the way I am now. But what's different this time is I need to remember that I only just did a 4-month herbal protocol a couple of months ago. So that finished in late November last year. So it's still pretty recent. Definitely a lot stronger than I was then. And I remember feeling a little bit concerned at the time about how weak I was getting, although I was still trying to do everything I would normally do exercise-wise, which may or may not have been the correct thing to do, but I feel like I need to do something, even if it's at a very low intense level, to keep things moving lymphatically and more for my mental health. So I'm definitely stronger than then, but I feel like that reset my strength a lot, so I'm kind of still working back up to where I know I can be and where I have been in the past. So maybe this diet isn't a true representation of what's possible or my capabilities, but that's just something I noticed. I definitely didn't fall off a cliff strength-wise. It just kind of continued going up from all the exercises I've been tracking. No issues there. Next thing is the tongue/breath, kind of like personal hygiene. Underarm smell definitely wasn't as bad. I pretty much don't smell like anything in comparison to previous diets. Tongue, when you wake up in the morning, most people will notice you have all that white stuff on there, or it could be green, brown, or black if you're really in trouble. That definitely increased, but then towards the end of the diet, I felt like it tapered off again. So there was more detox occurring, because that's what that is. It's like stuff coming up all throughout your digestive tract. It kind of settles on the tongue, because obviously you can't get out of your mouth properly during the night. It does help that I've been using a tongue scraper. That's like a game changer for me. If you got bad breath first thing in the morning, I definitely recommend using one of them. First thing you do, you get up, go to the toilet, do what you gotta do, but give your tongue a scrape. Just feels so much cleaner right off the bat. Urination. When I have the salads, I normally have to get up during the night. Whether that's a timing thing or just the content of the salad. I have played around with the timing and it doesn't seem to affect it too much. It's more so what's in it. So just the amount of water content is a lot higher than just grapes, obviously. So sleep goes hand in hand with this. It's what I really wrote it down for. Yeah, so less urination. Didn't really have to get up in the night if that's something you're worried about. I don't know, do most people get up in the night to urinate? I'm not sure. Historically, I haven't been one of those people, but since switching to this more hydrating diet, there's definitely a lot more to release, but it is food dependent. Grapes, it turns out, didn't stimulate that in me. Watermelon does, I know, which I've started having some more of now. The salads definitely do as well, so that's something to now think about. I have to be more conscious of my water intake. Back pain I definitely touched on. This was one of the main things that I wanted to address. And again, it's something that I noticed straight away when I incorporated more vegetables, or had a salad, I should say, and having the more protein-rich foods, I guess you could say. I'm not pointing the finger at protein per se, but it's a factor. It's more so the, well, not more so, but the lymphatic effects can be felt from these foods, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So mid to upper back pain pretty much went away just on grapes, and then when I bring other foods in, I notice it again. This varies with exercise selection and intensity, but it's something I wanted to test, and now I know that it makes a difference, and that grapes definitely do clean the lymphatic system and are probably the best foods for us to be eating, especially if you have something to heal. Along the line of pain, I noted in my last video, or the video before, about my wrist pain. That's still doing well. It still does have some weird clicks and movement patterns, but I've always had that. I've never really understood it, and neither has anyone that I've gone to have it looked at either. Chiropractors, physios, whatnot, they all just go. So that's reassuring. It turns out what I've been doing has helped that, which is good. Just quickly on that, I think the pain reducing has played a role in strength continuing to increase, especially for exercises that require a lot of grip strength, like pull-ups. There's definitely something to be said for the nervous system throttling your output. If it knows there's a weakness somewhere, then it's not going to allow you to output full force from your muscles. That's just my take on it. So that's what I experienced, what I'm putting it down to. Next one, it's another big one for me because I've always kind of struggled with it, is mucus in this region mostly. The nose cleared out quite nicely. This also kind of coincides with bowel movements. Notice after a decent bowel movement, the nose tends to clear as well, which makes sense to me through what I know about the digestive tract and kind of mucous membrane connection. Everything that's transverse colon, which is, the section kind of left to right in your abdomen, is connected to the head. So if you've got a lot going on in transverse colon, you're going to have a lot to drain up here, and probably going to have a lot of head issues, headaches, balance, potentially sight issues is a big one. Yeah. So I had a lot more releases from the nose, which could be viewed as annoying, but I know what that really means, so I'm happy to deal with it, and it's stuff that I don't really want in there anyway, so another plus. This one may take a little bit more explaining, but it's to do with a sense of groundedness and not craving as much of the other foods. I find this when you mono fruit anything or go on a mono diet of some description, that quickly the cravings for other foods go away. This was the same on the grapes as it was the watermelon a couple of weeks previous. It wasn't all smooth sailing. In the beginning, when our tomato crop was pumping, I was eating tomatoes and I was quite open about that. So it wasn't exclusively grapes, but it was mostly. There was no multiple ingredient meals or sauces, spices, any stimulants, anything of that nature. So just kind of got used to it and settled in. Got very used to the minimal prep time. Don't need to cook anything, don't need to cut anything up. The most amount of prep involved with grapes for me is the cleaning. And because I'm picking my own, if there's any bad ones to sort out that I didn't see when I picked them or they're hidden inside the bunch, that's the time for that before eating. So yeah, when I broke with the salad on Thursday night, it wasn't as grandiose as I thought it would be. The dopamine definitely hypes things up. It wasn't the world's best salad, I might add, but it's definitely not comparable to eating again after coming off a water fast, for example. Everything just tastes like heaven. Senses turned up to 11. This was just like, okay, this is food, but it kind of felt like afterwards that I could just go back on grapes for another month. It's a weird feeling. Gone are the days for me of over-romanticizing food and talking about it like it's, some kind of erotic entity. It's just, of course I would eat this. It's living healthy food. Be conscious while eating it. Need to chew more, eat more slowly, allow everything to digest, starting here, and then go on about my day. Still looking forward to meals, of course, but never like excruciatingly hungry, getting that feeling in the stomach like most people associate with hunger, which isn't true hunger. Never felt that once. I tell a lie, maybe one day I felt that, but I just put it down to a detox symptom. The stomach is doing what it has to do, secreting what it has to do, or what it has to get rid of. I don't know exactly, but it's all part of the process, and yeah, I'll be looking more into that very soon. Weight. In the beginning, I didn't really see any change on the scale. I was eating a fair amount of grapes, just under 4 kilos, which for most people that have done this kind of thing, that might sound like a lot, but that's what I felt I needed. So yeah, it didn't really change that much, the number I saw on the scale, that is. But then it did start coming down. So in the end, I think I dropped about 4.5 kilos, maybe less. So time for building back up. I don't think I'll be doing anything like this again for a while. I think I say that every time, but it just seems to call to me, so hence why I label this whole thing as a journey, because it's nothing less than that. And lastly, which is, again, probably going to be too much info, but another main reason I wanted to do this was to see if the rash that I had downstairs would be affected by this. And I definitely thought it was helping, but then towards the end it seemed to flare up again, so I'm not too sure what to think about that. Without going into too much personal detail, I'll basically just describe it as impetigo. which you can search that up. I had it probably the last few years of high school. School sores is another thing that it's called, but at the time I suppressed it with the usual means, steroid creams and the like, and it's just been coming back out ever since I was in Vanuatu. I noticed it when I did grapefruit only, and I've just been monitoring it while changing the things that I eat and seeing what happens, what affects it, what helps it, what makes it worse. So that was, yeah, another thing that I wanted to hone in on and see if I could expedite the release of, but it still seems to be there. It's only on one side, which is weird, so my left side is obviously more lymphatically compromised. That's all I'll say on that without going into too much detail. So that's all I've got written down. There's a fair bit to cover. I didn't go over too much time. It looks like a normal length video, but there'll be another one soon if I forget anything. And yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about this kind of thing, then let me know. I'll see you next time.